Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for the PERC Education Job Fair first pre-fair panel. We're excited to have 4 of our gold sponsors with us here today to share their expertise and their insight into the field of education. So we're first going to ask them to introduce themselves, and then we're going to go through 4 different questions to help you to prepare for the fair. So if we could please begin, we can go in even alphabetical order if that works. Michelle, do we want to begin with you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Michelle Anderson, and I currently serve as the Director of Curriculum and Instruction at New Heights Academy Charter School. We're a 5 through 12 school in Washington Heights. I'm happy to be here with you all today.
Good afternoon. My name is Betty Ann Powell, and I am the Director of Federal Programs for Berkeley County Schools. And Berkeley County Schools is located in the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia, and we have about 20,000 students in grades pre-K through 12.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Reichard. I am the teacher in residence in the Department of Human Resources for Stafford County Public Schools. We're located about 40 minutes south of Washington, D.C. in Virginia, with about 30,000 students. And I actually got my start at PERC 10 years ago.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Zaleski. I'm the Chief of Human Resources for Franklin County Schools. We are a school system that is just north of Raleigh, North Carolina. We serve about 8,000 students with 16 schools going from pre-K to 13th grade if you count our early college high school program.
Thank you. So our candidate registration is going to launch very soon. It opens on March 5th. So it would be wonderful if you could give our candidates a little bit of insight, any kind of recommendations that you might have as to how they should prepare for the virtual fair.
Do you want us to just share out in order? Sure. So I'm coming from New York, and our school is in New York City. And so I would suggest that no matter what, where you're trying to prepare to go, do your research on the schools in the area that you want to apply for. Definitely share your strengths. If you have certifications, you want to have all those things prepared and say those things up front. What you're passionate about, give the panelists and people that you're interviewing as an opportunity to just get a snapshot of who you are, not just who you are on paper.
I would agree with Dr. Anderson and also encourage, since we are in a virtual environment, that you still look professional from the top up. Smile, be enthusiastic, try to maybe clear your area of clutter or outside noise. I know if I'm home, I have a little yappy dog, so usually I have to put him in the basement. Be enthusiastic and try to engage your audience even in the remote environment. It's what our teachers were used to for the last year and the year prior, and it was a real pivot for all of us in K-12 education. And I would also definitely be prepared to discuss classroom management and structure within your classroom. I think that's very important in today's world of K-12 education.
I agree with everything said previously. I would add a couple of additions. Just kind of know your why, know your core values. Why do you want to become a teacher? Why do you want a position in the school district? That first question is always, something along the lines of, let us know about who are you? Give us those specifications. So know who you are. Also, very much so, know the schools and the system that you're talking to. So visit their website ahead of time. Make sure you kind of know the demographics of this the division. Are they growing? What is it that you're looking for specifically with them? And then finally, I think Betty Ann just spoke about this. Make sure they know that you love kids and love what you're doing. So you have that enthusiasm. That's so important to make sure that comes through even when we're in a virtual space.
I would agree with Everything that was said prior, definitely don't take away from yourself. So make sure you have good internet, so it's not cutting in and out. Make sure your background is not distracting. Make sure you're wearing appropriate clothing. And then the other thing about this is it's really a teacher's market into looking for a job. So it's just as important that we ask you questions, but you need to ask us questions about our beginning teacher support programs, about, what our curriculum's like or how we're going to support you as a first year teacher. And really make sure that also where you're going is a good fit for you, for your lifestyle that you want. Are you going to be happy living there? Because for us, happy teachers mean happy students and good results. So we definitely want you to be happy, and you're interviewing us as much as we're interviewing you.
Oh, wonderful points. Thank you so much. Also, so the candidates know, if you go to the website, which we incorporated the link into the chat, if you take a look at the candidate information, it'll also guide you through preparing on Handshake and different kinds of tips that you can have for the technology that you're going to be using. So next, a very, very important question. I mean, this is something that a lot of our candidates are going to want to know. What are the employers seeking in the candidates?
I can start. So many of the things that were just mentioned, I think are important just to reiterate in terms of enthusiasm. Someone who comes across as someone who likes children. That's really important. And not just that you love them, but just your connection to the field in itself, getting an understanding of that is important. We're seeking candidates that are confident, but also see themselves as lifelong learners, right? Attending trainings, as Mike just said, asking questions of the districts that they're interviewing with, like, what do you want to know about us? We want to feel that you are interested and not just looking for employment. I would also say, just reiterating again, highlighting any certifications you have and trainings that you've participated in, again, gives insight as to who you are and how you see yourself, and skills that you value and believe are important as you grow and learn in the field.
Excellent, thank you. I definitely agree with what you have said, and could even add that we would like to see our candidates and our teachers have compassion and empathy for each other as adults, for our children, and for our families and our parents. So I think compassion and empathy and a sense of family and community is very, very important. We need people who are willing to be flexible. We have, at times we've had our teachers substituting and helping out when that has need, and they have been paid for their time. So I think that flexibility is very important in today's world. We need people that have a good work ethic and come to work and come prepared and are willing to work and work hard the time that they are here. And I think in today's market, we could probably all agree with this, we need to see candidates who have a background in technology skills, are able to work on different platforms, able to integrate technology in with their lessons. Technology is not a time and place, it needs to be part of the curriculum. So we would like to see candidates who are prepared to use technology in their teaching, and we provide them with that technology in which to use. And the ability to communicate effectively, both written and verbal.
Yeah, just adding to everything there, I would just, challenge you to think about how are you going to bring your prior experiences to that specific interview or conversation. So be specific in your examples, because everything everyone's already talked about, your classroom management, how are you going to implement routines and procedures? What type of lens do you cast on students in terms of your cultural competence and being able to get smarter about the kids in front of you, especially if you're moving to another part of the country that may look a little different from where you have been living. And then finally, the most important would just be being willing, once again, to seek feedback and growth, because teaching is one of those things that we just have to continue working at to kind of add all those strategies to our tool bag.
And I'm always in the tough spot with the last name of Zaleski having to go last. I agree with everyone. I think one of the things that COVID-19 has taught us is that our teachers, and honestly, everyone has to be adaptable. So the ability to adapt is really important. And that's always been important as a teacher anyway, but it's just made that so much more important with the way that instruction has changed. A passion for students and a passion for teaching is what we're looking for. And just simple things, honestly, I think everyone on this panel would probably agree, keep your resume to one page. So when we're looking at those, that we can quickly look for what we're looking for. GPA, I love to see, because we always look for prior success. So any awards you received or anything like that, that's going to help us to know what kind of a person you are. And then another important thing is it's kind of difficult sometimes when we're doing stuff virtually, but be you, because we want to see kind of what our students will see. So, you know, put a little bit of yourself in that, and it's good. We want you to be professional, but we also want to see a little hint of what you're like and what you'll be like in that classroom. That's it.
Great information, everyone. Thank you. So we are going to move on to our third question of what type of employment opportunities exist within your school or organization. And I think this will be really important because we do reach out to candidates in a number of fields aside from teaching. So if you can talk a little bit about that. And let's switch it up. Michael, let's start with you and go in reverse alphabetical order this time.
All right, that's I like that. Honestly, you know, we're looking for elementary teachers. We're looking for secondary. Obviously, probably everyone here is looking for special education and math and science teachers. And out of the field with COVID, we're looking for instructional assistants. We're looking for bus drivers. We're hiring is the best thing I could say. And that's why I think it's going to be important that you really look at the systems and also be open to looking at some other systems, because it's really going to be about what's the best fit for you. Because I'm guessing every district here is hiring pretty much most positions.
Am I next up? Are we going?
You are, Dan. Thank you.
Okay. I would echo what Mike's saying. You know, we are in Stafford County Public Schools. We're a rapidly growing community. So we're this next year, we anticipate to add 600 additional students to our system. So with that being said, you know, it is a market in which you can really choose the best fit for you. So regardless of your position, whether it be a classroom teacher, a counselor, a social worker, any of those areas, we're going to be looking for those. So you want to make certain that you're, you know, asking those questions like we talked about earlier, and see what type of benefits folks are going to give you. Are they going to pay back some of your student loans, things like that? Are they going to support you with a mentoring program in the first year, the first couple of years? Those are really important questions to make certain that you receive the best opportunity, as well as knowing where you want to live. So, you know, the opportunities are endless.
Very good, fellas. You pretty much right now, if you have a certification, we will hire you, elementary all the way up through secondary, all content areas, foreign language, reading specialists, special education. So at this point, we are actively hiring folks who are certified. So we would love to have you apply. What I like about Berkeley County Schools, I grew up in Southwestern Pennsylvania, graduated from California University, and I'm 3 hours from home.
Ditto what everyone has said. New Heights Academy is a charter school. We're an independent charter school in Washington Heights, so we're a bit smaller than other district schools, but the same position still exists. All teaching positions, grades 5 through 12, in the various content areas, as well as therapists and social workers. And it's only March, so that will open up more as we get closer to the end of the year. You know, life happens, people move, get married, and other positions become available at that time.
Just to elaborate off a question that was in the chat, would you all please speak to the opportunities for perhaps school nurses, guidance counselors, speech, I think I already said speech language pathology, but coaches, anything outside of the realm of traditional like classroom teacher or special education teacher or curriculum director, those sort of things. We do have a lot of candidates who might be interested in those opportunities.
We actually here in Berkeley had to do outside contract and ability to get school nurses. So yes, school nursing would definitely be an opportunity, as would school counselors. I honestly would not feel comfortable saying speech path because I don't really work with that department very much at all. So I don't know that for sure, but my guess would be yes, but I can find out for sure. We do have quite a few academic coaches and actually had to stop hiring them last year because we really didn't have enough applicants that we felt could, had enough experience to take on the role of an academic coach. But we are also, unless you're talking about coaches within our sports programs, and those positions come available too. And a lot of time teachers or professionals or non-professionals within the school district have a lot of rights to those positions because they're employees.
Yeah, and I would add, I mean, right now we do have, especially using our ESSER funds, we have 2 nurse positions available. We have district MTSS positions. We have a director of transportation position. So there's definitely other opportunities outside of the classroom or supporting the classroom within our district.
Awesome. Good time to be a candidate seeking opportunities. We'll start in our reverse alphabetical order again. So Mike, we'll start with you again. If you could each share just a snapshot of a trend that you're seeing in education to help candidates prepare for the future, whether you're seeing this right now or whether you sort of anticipate this happening in the near future for job seekers, but just speak to that, please.
Well, I think COVID has changed really a lot that we're going through. And one of the things that I think a big change, even just for some of our psychology of how we're trying to recruit or retain employees, is we've spent a lot of money on trying to recruit employees and getting our message out. But a lot of it has shifted to a real focus on retaining employees. And so I think Dan mentioned look into the benefits, because I know we've really put a focus that's not all monetary and why you'd want to stay with someone, but districts are putting a lot of incentive for employees to stay with them. That's we've introduced a longevity bonus for as long as you stay with Franklin County Schools, and kind of put those, we're looking at supplements that are triggered based on your years with us. So really kind of trying to retain employees. And I think that that's going to be a trend that kind of stays. So that's one thing to look at when you're, and I think that's going to be a trend that you see in education. And I think the other trend that, or thing that's going to become in the future, which I don't know how districts are going to react, is a lot of districts right now have a lot of money due to ESSER funds. But in 3 years, when that changes, I think that will change the dynamics of just how school districts operate. So I think that'll be something to watch in the future.
We're very similar. We have kind of a motto that we recruit through retention. So something we focus on, that's actually my position. I oversee our mentoring program. So that's something in which we really pour into our folks in many ways. Not only just, are you ready to teach in the classroom, but also we have something called affinity groups. So you can join these groups where you can kind of meet with folks who either have an identity that you also claim, or you might consider yourself an ally with that group. So that's something that we've started. We have a staff of color affinity group. We have an LGBTQIA+ affinity group, and we also have a staff new to the area affinity group. So, we're trying to focus on how can we also take care of you. Teaching is, although our benefits, our salary is in a good place, it's still really tough to go through school if you all were like me, and then to have all of these student loans. So something else, we're also paying back $1,500 of your student loans for your first 3 years in our school division directly to your loan company. So those are just some things. I really think the future in terms of the job market is, how are we taking care of you beyond the classroom? And the final thing I would add is, tomorrow, I'm really excited because I'm attending this as well. Our superintendent's hosting something called an unconference, where he's bringing together all the teachers of our division and asking, what can we take off of your plate? How can we make certain that you can lead a balanced life between your work in the school, as well as being able to be at home and kind of leave your work at work? So, that's definitely one of the trends is, how can we make that time management and you the priority? Because I think Mike alluded to it earlier. If we take care of our teachers, our staff, our speech pathologists, our counselors, etc., then our students will benefit in the end.
Very good. I think too that we are seeing with students in school a trend towards, you know, more mature behavior than what we had prior to COVID. So having candidates who are prepared to talk about differentiation strategies and ways that they can vary up their teaching strategies and their teaching techniques. And do you have an interest in a physical activity that you could incorporate brain breaks into your day of teaching to give students and teachers that mental break? Because I think emotional overload within children and our adults. And I know that all of us on here would definitely agree that social emotional learning is something that we are working towards improving our social emotional learning within our schools. And I think that some of those opportunities that the last two mentioned lend towards that work home balance. And what does that look like in a regular day, and what does that look like for an employee? So I think that's definitely an uptick in trend. And I think that if we can look for a virtual market, we're still utilizing the virtual market, so we have kept it school in person. We have seen that our parents and our students and our teachers like virtual tutoring, because it doesn't necessarily have to take place right after school when no one has transportation. So we can have virtual tutoring in the evenings that allows parents and families and students to be able to move on with their evening, but maybe they have some time from 7 to 8 in the evening that they would do tutoring. So we've kept up that virtual market that was a part of COVID.
I agree with everything that all the other panelists have said and stressed as important trends in terms of kind of knowing your worth and ensuring that you understand what benefits the school or school district can offer to you as an employee, but also really honing in on your digital skills. As Betty Ann mentioned, like there are virtual aspects that we were kind of forced into due to the pandemic that have definitely benefited us and our students and teachers in bringing some of that innovativeness and creativity as to how you use these tools and incorporate them into the classroom is definitely a trend that I don't think is going anywhere and definitely can be a strength of yours.
So before we wrap up, we have some attendees online. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask at this time? You can either unmute yourself or put it in the chat. Okay. Since there are no questions, I would like to ask you all one more, because you've been so absolutely wonderful. You've shared such great information, and I have to say, it's been wonderful to see your enthusiasm for the field. Are there any things that you wish we would have asked, or any comments that you wanted to make to the candidates as they prepare? We have candidates that have never attended a fair before. We have some that might be a little bit more experienced. So you might see the full spectrum. So if you can share any other additional tips, suggestions, or just comments, that would be wonderful. Anyone could start.
I would just reiterate what Mike said about having questions to ask of the panelists. Definitely knowing your audience, right? Where do you want to live? I just would reiterate those points. They're not new, but definitely asking questions and showing your interest and that you've done some homework and research will go a long way.
Yeah, and I would add to, one of the things I miss the most about in-person job fairs is I don't know how many candidates I met and that actually ended up being interested in Franklin County that didn't intend to come see me. I just, met them in the hallway and I said, hey, this is what we offer. And so I think really be open, because not being able to do it in person, sometimes it's really easy just to click on the certain links for the school systems that you want it, like you're aware of, but there's a lot of really good school systems out there. So I think one thing would be open yourself up to and just visit some other ones to see the supports that they have for you. Because I definitely feel we do some pretty, our beginning teacher support program is very strong. We have about 4 tiers for that, where you have a mentor at your school, you have a master teacher, which is one of our retirees that didn't want to retire. They're kind of like your Franklin County grandparent. And then you also have a BET coordinator, and we partner with UNC Chapel Hill. So those are things that a lot of times where if you don't come and talk to other school systems, you don't realize all the support you're going to get. So definitely be open to talking to people. And just, kind of also don't feel pressure, because I also think that there's going to be districts there that are going to offer you a contract that you've never even seen the school or the building. So, ask if you can do a tour, because we love to do those. Make sure you check out that system and you're not making a spur of the moment decision that really could impact your life.
I would also add too, because a lot of us that are doing job fairs, even though we have a little bit of knowledge of different things in our community, most of us have been established in our communities for a very long time. Most of us have a home. At this point, a lot of us are married and have children. So we're not in that market for looking for an apartment. Might have a little bit of knowledge, maybe not strong knowledge. So I would encourage you to look at the Chamber of Commerce in the community, look up sites like that to where you can see what is available for me to rent or to perhaps buy in that area, and is it affordable, and what is it that I want to pay for housing. We also have ways where we have tried to hook people up with other new teachers where they're looking for roommates and situations like that. So I think that's a big part of your life too. What is in that area? What can you do and make other than just what can you do in that area? What kind of recreation opportunities are available to you? If you want a more country and a rural environment, how far are you away from a city? If what are some things that you can do outside of your work time that really embed you in that community? The more you become embedded in a community, the more likely you are going to stay. When I moved here 24 years ago, I will get years of experience and I'll go back home. And then the community grew on me, and I have been here for 24 years and I really like where I live. So I think that's very important too.
Yeah, and I would just add, I grew up in Clarion for any of my Pennsylvania friends, and went to IUP, and I did my student teaching in Pittsburgh, and I grew up on a farm. I never thought I would end up in Stafford County, Virginia, which is a suburb of Washington, D.C. And so what I would do is maybe make a list of some comfort school divisions you might want to visit, some that seem kind of comfortable. Maybe this is where I want to go. And then maybe have a couple stretch. A couple of stretch school divisions, maybe you want to talk to. Maybe it kind of scares you a little bit to move that far or something like that, but kind of explore that a little bit. And then like all the other panelists were saying, take advantage of the benefits. Many school districts will offer to pay for you to come down, and they'll pay for your hotel, your gas, and your visit. So make sure you do go into those schools. That's how I made my choice. I drove down from Pittsburgh in my old beat up station wagon on my last pennies, okay, when I was student teaching in Pittsburgh. And after I met Stafford at PERC, and I went into a school and I was like, this is a place, I got that feel. So make sure you visit, because that's so important.
Well, we're just about out of time, but again, we want to thank you all. I hope everyone can just send out a little clap there. Thank you very much for your time, sharing your expertise, and all of this wonderful insight. Again, we don't know what type of candidates are going to be looking for. There's so many different candidates out there coming from different states all over, and just starting from every type of level. So thanks for sharing your time. There also are a lot of great resources that are on the website from our sponsors. So please make a time to go through those. There are recruitment videos, there are advertisements, there are resource videos too, teaching out of state, things like that to kind of help you to consider your options. Thanks so much, and we look forward to seeing you at the fair.